childhood, I've always loved doing DIYs, and it took a very interesting and personal turn when I started gifting them to my friends and family members. So we are perfectly poised at that time of the year when we are anticipating a lot of happy events, the New Year, Christmas, and of course Diwali that's coming right up. And I know gifting is on a lot of your minds. So I thought it's only apt to do a video where I can show you some simple DIYs that you can do with very beautiful outcomes that then you can go ahead and gift to people and show them that you handmade something with a lot of love. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at what we can do with air dry clay. It's a very versatile medium and a very good looking outcome can be achieved using this medium. So let's get into it. The first DIY we're going to be doing is the Lotus tea light holder. I have both the terracotta as well as the white air dry clay. For this, I'm using the white air dry clay. I've taken a bottle cap here which is just a little bigger than the candle, so it's going to sit in perfectly. Now I'm rolling out the air dry clay in the consistency that I prefer, which is not too thick or too thin. Once I have that desired consistency, I'm just going to cut out the base with the help of the bottle cap here. So I have the circular disc which is now a little rough around the edges. I'm going to smoothen it out with the help of a knife and then just with some brush and water. Now it's time to draw out the petals and cut them out. You can do this freehand, or like I said, you can just draw it out first. I'm doing it freehand and then I'll just be working with the clay to ensure it has the shape that I want. Once the petal is ready, I can smoothen the edges and then use it on the base, merge it with the base to create the inner line of petals. To attach it to the base, I'm just going to be using a knife to give the edges a little rough feel, and then I'm going to just be merging it with the help of my fingers and of course some water that I'm using along with a paintbrush. I'm repeating this process for all the petals. So this is the inner section of the Lotus tea light holder. Once this is dry, I will be giving it a coat of gold spray paint. Now I've done it in two different sections so that the paint can go within all the grooves and give it a nice even finish. Time to start working on the second layer, which is going to be the outer petals. Again, I've cut out a base which is bigger than the inner portion of the flower so that it can sit comfortably inside. Now it's time to work on the petals and again give it a coat of gold spray paint. Then I'm going to attach the inner section inside with the help of E6000. The first DIY is complete and I think it's come out really well. It's got almost a faux metallic look because I've gone ahead with the gold spray paint. Now you can give it any treatment of your choice. I also did it in two parts, unlike the first time I actually sculpted a lotus flower with air dry clay. And here I had the inner section of petals done separately and then I glued it together with the base later on. This was mainly done because I struggled with the paint job in the previous DIY and I couldn't get the paint inside all the grooves. So for this one, that part was easier, and of course I gave it a spray coat, so that is again time saving and gives a very even finish, but you can do it however you please. Also the inner section, so these itself can be little diyas. Now what I did is I just poured some molten wax inside and it's a diya that is straight to use, so you can do something like this as well. It's time to now work on the second DIY, which is coaster making. I again have a sheet of white air dry clay here that I've rolled out, and I'm using this container to create a perfect circular base. I'm going to create 4 such bases for 4 coasters. As with the previous DIY, I'm just smoothing the edges around these 4 bases, and once that's done, it's time to put it out to dry. Slow drying is ideal as that will reduce and minimize the chances of cracks. Once it's dry, you can always smoothen the edges further with the help of a sandpaper. Now I'm going to give it a treatment of gold and black. I'm spray painting this one black, and then I'll be doing a stencil treatment. I'm just wrapping the rest of the coaster in a cling film so that the paint only fills in the stencil area. Making coasters with air dry clay is an incredibly popular idea, and there's just so much you can do with it. In fact, I'll be making an exclusive video on the different types of coasters you can create with air dry clay. But for today's video, I've created simple discs, round and pretty thin, coasters. Now I've just gone ahead and given them black and gold treatment with like a stencil print design on it. Now you can do this, or you can hand paint it, you can use masking tape and do some sort of color blocking. You can also have very different treatments like this one, where it's very feminine and it's got a floral look. So really the treatment is up to you, but these make very cute and personal gifts. For the third DIY, we are creating a nifty cactus. Now for this, I once again rolled out some air dry clay, and I'm going to be cutting the base with the help of a cookie cutter, a circular disc which is a little thicker than what we did for the coasters. Next, I'm going to take a bit of clay and roll it into a cylindrical shape. I'm going to cut the length that I require, and I'm going to repeat this process. Now I'll first smoothen this piece of cylindrical clay. This is going to be the main portion of the cactus. Now for the arms of the cactus, which again I've molded in a similar fashion, and I'm going to be joining with the help of serrating the edges and then dabbing some water and then just smoothing it down with my fingers. You can take your time doing the merging so that it turns out to be strong. But don't use too much water, as this can make the clay very hard to work with and also cause cracks later on during the drying process. So once I have attached both the arms, I'm going to then transfer the whole cactus to the base using the same techniques again. I'll be merging it in place and also using a stick that will go through until the base for reinforcement. I'm going to let it dry and then resume with the paint work. So now the air dry clay has dried, and I'm going to give it a speckled paint job where I'm using warm white and black to just create specks across the entire surface, and I'm doing this with an old toothbrush. The third DIY is extremely versatile. You can use this as a home decor piece, or you can use it for some functional aspects. So this is the cactus ring holder, bracelet holder, and for added functionality, I've also added a hole on the tops of these so that I can use them as incense stick holders. So I think they're really cute and very easy to make. So I just used a cookie cutter to cut out the base, and then the shape of the cactus itself is highly abstract, so that's no issue. And for the hole, we just used the base of an incense stick actually to create the hole. So very easy. And the paint treatment we went ahead with was like a speckled treatment. We chose warm white and black and then just speckled it across with the help of an old toothbrush, and we have these two beautiful pieces now. For DIY 4, we're going to be doing a boho wall hanging. For this, I'm going to be using some terracotta shade of air dry clay. I'm just going to be rolling it out into a thin sheet once again, and with the help of the cookie cutter, I'm going to be cutting out a circle. Now I'll be cutting out 2 circles from this shade of clay. One I'll be later splitting into semicircles, so 2 halves. And the other, I'm going to be giving it a texture with the help of chopsticks. So for the textural aspect, I'm just taking a chopstick and slightly pressing down on the surface of this disc to give it a nice texture. And now with the help of a straw, I'm going to be just punching holes into both the sides of this circular disc, which I will be later using to tie it all together. This is the other disc, and I'm going to be cutting it into 2 equal halves. Once again, I'm going to be punching holes into this with the help of a straw. As you can see, now we have holes on all 3 pieces so far. Next, I'm going to be cutting a circular disc from the white air dry clay. I'm using the previous shape as reference and cutting this one to the same size into 2 halves. Same process once again. I'll be punching holes with the straw. Now lastly, I'm going to be creating 2 little crescent shaped bits for either end of this wall hanging. And once it's dry, I'm doing a speckled paint job. I'm just giving it a warm white and black coat of paint. I'm using an old toothbrush to do this, like with the cactus. Now I have some jute thread here and some beads, and I'm going to use both of these to put all these shapes together. I'll be working on individual parts, so the thread is not going to run continuously. And I'll be just using simple knots to get the job done. For the ends, I've just used a double thread on one end to make it look like it has a small tassel, and on the other end, I've just created a loop with the help of a simple knot. The 4th DIY is now complete, and by far it's my favorite one. I really wanted to do something like this for a long time. I've used 2 different colors of clay here. So this was sold as the terracotta color of clay, but when it dries, it looks more pinkish than the usual terracotta color, and this is their regular white color. I used some beads that I already had at home, some jute thread, and I put this together. Now the design is very simple, but it still has a very beautiful bohemian look. I went ahead with a speckled paint job on this one as well. Again, warm white and black and an old toothbrush, and that got done. That has given such a beautiful textural component to this piece. So you can definitely try this at home, and it'll be a very nice gift to give someone as well. For the 5th and final DIY, I'm going to be creating a set of boho vases. For the first one, I'm creating pebble sort of setup. I've taken 3 blobs of clay that I'm smoothing into little pebble shaped bits of clay, which I'm then going to place one on top of the other and merge it all together. Once I have all 3 bits merged together, I'm then going to be creating a hole with the help of a paintbrush that runs through all 3 parts. I'll smoothen it and now just let it dry. For the second one, I'm going to just roll out the air dry clay to form a long cylindrical piece, which I'm then going to curve around and form a circle. I'm going to seal the edges by merging the clay together so that it forms a complete circle. One side of this I'm going to just flatten a little bit so that I can stand once dry. The other side I'm just marking out a bit from where I'm going to remove clay so that I can send a test tube in. Now this is because I would like to keep fresh flowers as well as dry flowers, and for fresh flowers I'll want to store some water in this. I'm going to let this whole thing dry and we'll be done.
Hoping change is gonna find me. You don't have to remind me. I'm doing nothing at all. I'm ruminating on a blank wall, but I feel stuck here in the middle.
And with that, we've come to the end of this air dry clay DIY video. I really hope you enjoyed it and took away some tips and tricks on how to work with air dry clay at your home and create some beautiful products for your home, as well as to gift it to friends and family this festive season. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day.